Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the final Strategic Growth Council meeting of the Brown administration. Happy holidays to everybody. Thanks for being here. And let's get underway with our roll call. We'll start on the left with Mike.
Mike Wilkening here.
Nicole Capritz.
Matt Rodriguez.
Bob Fisher.
I guess we've stopped identifying who we're with now.
Oh, sorry.
Ken, Alex. All right, Mike, start again.
You'd think we'd have this down by now. So Mike Wilkening, Secretary of Health and Human Services.
And Nicole Capritz, the Senate appointee.
Matt Rodriguez, Cal EPA.
Bob Fisher, Governor's appointment.
Ken Alex, Office of Planning and Research.
Jenny Lester Moffitt, Department of Food and Agriculture, covering for Karen Ross, who will be here momentarily.
And John Laird from the NRA.
Brian Annis from the Transportation Agency.
Hi, everyone. Alexis Podesta with the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency.
Okay, and I love the audience participation from this side. Very nice. Let's go to the minutes, and I would entertain a motion on approval of the minutes.
I move the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I call the question.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I don't oppose, I just have to abstain because I wasn't here.
You are allowed to abstain. Okay, passes unanimously with Nicole abstaining. Okay, council members' updates. Anybody with an update they'd like to provide? Seeing none, we are ready to go. Executive Director's report. Louise, it's you.
Okay, thank you all for being here. I will try to be efficient in my remarks, but wanted to provide a few updates. I'll start with some staffing updates, go through a few program updates, and then I think it was worthwhile to just say a few words to thank the council, who has been very productive over the last 8 years. So first, I want to start with a few staffing updates. Monica Palmera, who has been leading our technical assistance work, will be departing SGC tomorrow to seek new opportunities, and we will miss her tremendously and just thank her for all of the work she has done in establishing our technical assistance program. We're very lucky that she's been working closely with Ina Lupin on our team, who will be stepping into that role upon Monica's departure. And so I think we feel that it is in exceptionally capable hands. Early in 2019, we'll be looking to find a new communications person to fill in for Ina. And then I also want to mention that Leah Fisher, who was at the Office of Planning and Research, has joined SGC as a research advisor in our climate change research program. And you will be hearing from her a little bit later on in the agenda. I wanted to provide a couple of updates on the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program. One, just because we are in the middle of this funding, notice of funding availability and application period, and so we've also just been working on providing technical assistance to potential applicants who have requested. And so I just wanted to update you all on what we've been hearing. We have had 65 applicants requesting technical assistance. We had the highest number of requests coming in from Southern California, where we had 21. We have capacity to provide technical assistance to 36 applicants. This will be based, this is based really on the readiness of the project. So we receive requests from projects that are not quite ready, ability to access other technical assistance. We may be able to accommodate additional jurisdictions on a rolling basis. Those that were not served, a lot of that is because of readiness, will actually be built into a capacity building part of this contract, which will happen after the application work, which is really looking at helping to get those applications ready. I did want to note, though, we are taking a slightly different approach for the North State area, specifically with fire-affected communities, where even if they are not ready for technical assistance on a specific project, starting to do some capacity building work with them now, and so not waiting till after the cycle has happened. The one jurisdiction, the one region where, because of we had so many requests from Southern California, there are going to be jurisdictions we're not able to serve, but we have been working with the City of LA to help prioritize projects in that region. Another update, just I wanted to follow up on an item that the council had asked about at our October meeting, and this was around whether or not we should have a minimum scoring threshold for AHSC. And this actually prompted, I think, a really excellent exercise for us to really look at where in the process of AHSC do we filter out applications, and sort of what thresholds do we already have built in, and what does the range of scoring look like that we have. And so currently there are 3 points at which the program would filter out an application. The first is at the statutory and programmatic threshold review. So these are meeting requirements that are required of every single application. So this is things like having transit passes, that you have environmental clearance. And so just to give you a sense, in round 3, we had 54 applications, and 5 were filtered out through that first stage of review. Then we have a quantitative threshold built in, and so there are 85 possible quantitative policy points, and this is meeting certain requirements or certain elements of your application that are scored on a numeric scale. Any application that gets less than half of those points is removed from consideration at that point. And then finally, the final phase is when we select projects. So I just wanted to clarify that there are several points at which we will eliminate projects from consideration. In round 3, we awarded 19 out of 54 applications, and our score range in that round ranged from 74 points up to 93 points, and it's a 100-point scale. And so I think it's important, one, to say we're not looking for folks to score 100, but we are looking at this range. So I think based on this analysis, looking at this round, and we looked at the previous 2 rounds as well, it was very clear the program is remaining very competitive. We feel that the technical assistance is actually helping really to ensure we're getting high quality applications. So at this point, don't feel that it's necessary to think about a minimum threshold, but think this is as I said, a really excellent exercise for us to continue to monitor the trends and make sure that we're seeing high quality applications. And so this is likely a process we'll continue to go through regularly. Quick update on health and all policies. In your binders, there's additional information on planned activities for 2019, continued work on the Government Alliance on Race and Equity and the Capital Cohort. There was a commencement ceremony for all the participants on December 12th, and then the implementation year is launching on January 16th. And as I said, there are additional materials in the binder. And then quickly, I wanted to just conclude with taking just a moment to appreciate all of the work that you all as a council had done. And this is something that key staff raised as well, because I think it is really helpful to look over the last 10 years. As most of you know, the bill that created SGC was signed in 2008. And I want to acknowledge Heather Fargo, who I know is here, right there, who was the executive director at the start of the Brown administration, and really in getting a lot of this work underway. So I just think as we look over the last 8 years, this council has established and implemented 5 new greenhouse gas reduction funded programs. The council membership has grown by addition and then also by the creation of a new agency. We've had tremendous policy initiatives and partnerships across state agencies. And I think we've really developed an amazing staff, both at SGC and key staff across our state agencies that we've been working with. And so I think it's important to just look from planning. So we, as a council, invested almost $130 million in planning grants through Proposition 84. And then if you look at our website, you'll see we keep track of then what does that turn into on the ground. And we have we've built over 6,000 affordable homes across the state. We have awarded 69 agricultural easements that are projected to protect over 100,000 acres of land and support sustainable management practices. And then we're making transformative investments, both in communities, which we'll hear a lot more about today, and research, again, which we'll hear about today. And I think the other is that we're providing tremendous training and support for communities across the state and for staff across our state agencies. And so these are just pictures of some of the work that SGC has supported. And I just wanted to run through that quickly because I think we all just wanted to say thank you to this council for all of your leadership. We recognize that we have several council members who will be departing, Ken Alex and Secretary Laird. And so just specifically really want to thank you all for everything you have done over the last 8 years.
Questions or comments from the council? Go ahead.
Departing sounds so terminal.
Sorry.
So we will not be members of the council, but we will still be around in some
Yes,
form.
please.
Yes.
And because Monica's leaving tomorrow, I do want to really underscore how great her work has been and greatly appreciated. The technical assistance program that she created has really become the model for other programs within the state, not just at the SGC. So, and I'll probably say something briefly at the end, but really I think the council hugely appreciates the staff and recognizes both the quantity and quality of work. But we won't prolong that now. We'll get to the meeting and talk about it maybe at the end. Okay. Thank you very much. Are we okay to go ahead on next item? Yes. Okay. All right. We're going to go in order just for the heck of it. Agenda item 6 is Transformative Climate Communities. It has 3 subparts. Part A is around the recommendations for award for 2 climate community implementation grants. And I think what we're going to do with this, because we didn't differentiate in the request in the speaker form, I think everybody who's requested to speak for item 6, we're going to have speak after we present on 6A, just to give you that. And I also want to give a chance after the staff presentation, each of the proponents of particular communities that wishes to speak, we'll give them some time. So Saharnaz, over to you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Saharnaz Mirzadat. I'm Transformative Climate Communities Program Manager at Strategic Growth Council. Before starting, I want to thank you all the communities that applied for TCC, the one that are recommended to be awarded and the one that didn't. They put a lot of efforts in applying for TCC, and this year we had a really high quality applicants compared to last year. It has been a really hard decision for us to make, and I want to recognize that before going through my presentation. I also want to thank the TCC staff, both at Strategic Growth Council and Department of Conservation, who has been working tirelessly in the last couple of months to make this happen. So I'm here to ask the council to approve the staff recommendations to award $46 million in greenhouse gas reduction funds to the following 2 transformative climate communities proposal. Sorry, what happened to this? Okay, $23 million for Green Together Northeast Valley, submitted by community partners, and $23 million to Sacramento Integrated Multimodal Place-Based Living, submitted by Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. I want to remind you the application process that we had this year. The council adopted the proposed guidelines on July 31st. Subsequently, the SGC and Department of Conservation released a notice of funding availability on August 15. And we provided technical assistance to all applicants that were interested in our program. The initial survey that we had, we received 8 communities that were interested in our program. But through the initial screening, 4 of them didn't make it to the actual submitting the application. We had 4 applicants, Green Together Northeast Valley, submitted by community partners, Pathways to Health by County of Riverside Economic Development Agency, Rooted in East Oakland by City of Oakland, and Sacramento Integrated Multimodal Place-Based Living by Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. We had 4 different groups who reviewed the application. The first was the TCC program staff, which only reviewed the applications for the completeness. If there were any materials that was missing from the application, we notified the applicants to provide it in 48 hours. We also reviewed the application to meeting the threshold requirements of our guidelines. We had subject matter specialists that were from 12 agencies, and there were like 40 reviewers that reviewed the applications for their financial and management capacity. They reviewed the transformative plans and their projects in depth. And they provided suggested scores to the Interagency review panel, which consists of 15 reviewers across 10 different agencies. Each panelist from the Interagency review panel reviewed all 4 applications and and also the reviews that were provided by staff and subject matter specialists. And a subset of panelists attended site visits prior to deliberation. Finally, GHG scores were calculated by technical assistant provider that was hired by SGC and was certified by California Air Resources Board for accuracy. This is the scores provided by the review panel. The Interagency scored Green Together Northeast Valley 75.4, Sacramento 74.9, Rooted in East Oakland 68.7, and Pathway to Healthway 66.1. And when we added the GHG scores, you see that Green Together Northeast Valley and Sacramento Simple Project were the highest scored applications. Any questions, or I can move to projects? So the first application that we are recommending to be awarded, the Green Together Northeast Valley, the lead applicant is Community Partners, and they have 8 partners as a part of their application. They're requesting $23 million, and they're bringing $47 million in leverage funding. I would like to bring to your attention the Green Together network operating structure. This is a very interesting model that potentially can be used in other communities to award larger grants to community-based organizations and nonprofits. They are bringing the community partners, which is a fiscal sponsor, to support them in project management of the project, and they are also hiring a network coordinator to be assigned to this project specifically. The steering committee, which comprises of all the partners on the grant, and Pacoima Beautiful, which is the main brain behind this whole application, will always have a seat on the steering committee, and the rest will be rotating between different partners. This is the project map, and if you take a look, the yellow boundary shows the project map area. The proposed project include pedestrian mobility improvements, Pacoima-E-bus, EV charging stations, single-family solar installation, multi-family fit installation, David Gonzalez Park renovation, and street tree planting. They are bringing 7 projects as a leverage fund projects: Cool Roof retrofits, Community Resiliency Center, Bradley Green Alley and Plaza renovation, East San Fernando Valley Transit Corridor, and Fernandez Park's stormwater capture, and Van Nuys Boulevard and Glen Oaks Green Street projects and transportation advising. a photo of our site visit in David Gonzalez Park and the location that Pacoima Beautiful, the office location of the Pacoima Beautiful, and where we were greeted by the community when we went for the site visit. We also asked the council to award this grant on a condition that the community will update their memorandum of understanding to include clauses related to assumption of liability, program reporting, and process for reporting data to evaluation team. Next application is Sacramento Integrated Multimodal Place-Based Living. The lead applicant is Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, and they have 4 partners on the application. They're requesting $23 million, and they're bringing $125 million in leverage fund. The white area shows the approximate project area. And they are proposing Twin River housing development, Dos Rios light rail station, solar panels on public housing, tree planting, and community garden. And they're bringing 7 projects as a leverage: multimodal mobility improvement, city park improvement, smart ride microtransit, Twin River City Park, downtown riverfront streetcar project, electric vehicle charging station, low-income weatherization program. And a photo of the site visit, which was in Girls and Boys Club in Sacramento. It happened to be a very rainy day, and the site visit was mainly conducted by riding a bus in the project area. We also asked to have the award condition for the Sacramento, which majority of the money there goes to this light rail station that is in the area, and we were asking the lead applicant to include climate resiliency measures in design and construction of the transit station to assure long-term continued viability of this station. And also we are asking them, since they have presented that how important this light rail station is for that community, to exceed the requirement of 1 transit pass per household to make sure that there will be enough use of this light rail station. We also asking them to update the MOU to expand involvement of community-based organization in the whole process. And general condition for both awards that staff will review all the projects in depth, and we want them to make any modification based on the suggestion that we have received from the review committee and staff during the post-award phase, and also work with the evaluation technical assistant to have indicators associated with their projects in the post-award phase. Proposals not recommended for awards. Oakland, rooted in East Oakland project. The lead applicant was City of Oakland, and they had 4 partners on the application. They're asking for $23 million, and they're bringing $508 million in leverage fund. This is the project area map. The blue line shows the project area. They have requested funds for International Boulevard Affordable Housing and Walkability Project, for Planting Justice Organic Nursery and Community Garden, which is expansion of what is in the community already, Tree Anchoring Health, and Scrapper Bike Share Program. This is a photo of the site visit, the Planting Justice site, and housing development across the existing housing development, which is across the site that they have proposed for housing. We will have a debrief with all the applicants that were not successful to help them to improve their application for next year and provide in-depth analysis of what we heard from the review committee to support them during the application for next year. But general area of improvement that was provided by the review committee is that they need to demonstrate greater integration between projects. They need to identify leverage-funded projects, which, as you saw, there was no specific leverage-funded project. Although they brought a big leverage to the project, it wasn't project-specific. Develop clear process on data gathering and reporting for TCC, increase public agency partner commitment, and provide more detailed information on project readiness, work plan, and budget, which was brought up in a couple different projects review for Oakland, and also clarify their roles and responsibility in the MOU. The next application that is not recommended for the award is Riverside's Pathway to Health. Lead applicant is Riverside County Economic Development Agency, and there are 7 partners on the application. The requested fund is $23 million, and they're bringing $33 million in leverage fund. The blue line shows the project area, and the proposed projects include Mission Heritage Plaza, East Side Mode Shift, bus passes, Energy for All, a water heater and water efficiency projects, Green Pathway tree planting, and North High School garden. And the leverage projects includes Entrada Affordable Housing and Wine Street Mobility Hub. Some pictures of the site visits by the review committee. They had a chance to tour the area with bike, and apparently it was really fun. The area of improvements, as I mentioned, we'll have the debriefs for sure with the applicant, but also they needed to demonstrate greater integration between proposed project and the leverage funded projects and provide more detailed information on project readiness and budgets, which was lacking from their application, and also provide more formal and clear roles for decision making. And delineate how the County Economic Development Agency as the lead applicant would work with the City of Riverside during the implementation. This has been a lot of conversation around their MOU and like the lack of clarity how this project will be implemented down the road, and that was something that the City of Riverside and the Economic Development Agency can definitely work to improve next year. So moving forward, there are some key considerations that we would like for future TCC funding rounds. That the last 2 rounds has showed us that we need to have more clarity on our workforce development and displacement avoidance requirements, 2 of our transformative requirements of the TCC program. The workforce development plans that have been submitted in round 1 and round 2, they all lacked very clear vision how our dollars will result in transformation the workforce for these communities, and we want to strengthen that by working with more experts in the workforce development area and community partners to clarify that to the community and give better direction through our guidelines, what we are expecting from them. Also, displacement avoidance requirements, there was some confusion about the new requirements versus the existing one and implementing those. So we need to work on our guidelines to make this area more clear in the next round. We also think that we need to work to catalyze creative approaches to affordable housing through TCC. The case of Pacoima was a good example of that sometimes big, large affordable housing projects is not the answer for our housing crisis. We can be more creative in supporting accessory dwelling units or smaller infill developments, housing projects, and we want to explore how that can fit into the TCC program. It's a long-term research that we need to do. Supporting arts and culture as a transformation, it came up in all the applications that were submitted and the conversation with the communities, and we want to know how we can signal through our guidelines that we are supporting this type of transformation. In the climate adaptation and resiliency section of our guidelines, we are missing a piece about how impact of climate change will impact the actual usability of our infrastructure in long term and also their maintenance. So we want to add that to our climate adaptation and resiliency piece. And the next thing that's a big item on our list is expanding eligibility for a future round to go beyond 5% DAC requirements that we have in existing guidelines. We also know that the application for the TCC is not easy and it's costly, and for the communities that we are targeting, it's a huge lift. So we want to know how through our technical assistance or other venues we can support the cost of application for these communities. Again, I want to ask the council to approve a staff recommendation to award $46 million in greenhouse gas reduction funds to the following 2 transformative climate communities proposal: Green Together Northeast Valley and Sacramento Integrated Multimodal Place-Based Living. Thank you.
Okay, couple of quick procedural things. I note that Mike Flatt is here. Welcome. And then Bob Fisher is going to recuse himself from this item, so he'll just sit here quietly. Okay, with that, questions for Saharnaz at this point? All right. So I think, yeah, Louise.
I just want to make one other comment that I don't think was mentioned, which is that Riverside and Oakland are also planning TCC planning grant applicants from round one. And so I just want to also mention we will be continuing to work with them through that support as well.
Okay, and I know Sacramento and Pacoima are here. Are Riverside or Oakland here? Okay. So, you know, I see a cage match between the senator and the mayor coming on here. All right, let's start with Pacoima. Go ahead, please.
Can you indulge us for a second? I want to take a selfie of the team. Come on, everybody. Get in close. We're going to get a big picture here. Everybody, I'll get a couple of them. Sorry, thank you. We're just pretty happy. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll lead off just for a few seconds here. I'm just over the moon, as you know, and others on this board. When we didn't get this in the spring, I didn't think it was going to happen given the new administration, and I am, despite being in and around government for 45 years, you never cease to be surprised, and I am pleasantly surprised. And all I want to do is to say thank you. We are ecstatic, and to emphasize not just the 90.4% in first position. Yes, everybody. But that our name is Green Together. And I would emphasize the together. Because what you have here is a community of just extraordinary togetherness. You saw it when you came to visit us. You see it here today. It is grounded. It is focused. You've got from Pacoima Beautiful here to Grid Alternatives to the Trust for Public Land to the Business Council in the City of Los Angeles to the City of Los Angeles and, of course, community partners that has joined in with us. And we now have a new Assembly member, Luz Rivas, who isn't here today but is very much a part of this in the City of Los Angeles. And so I want to turn it over to the rest of the team. We have a short time, but just to again say thank you. I flew in from around the planet, as some of you know, to be here because this is of extraordinary importance. And you always cross all the T's and dot all the I's and never let anything fall through the cracks. So thank you, and again, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Tori Chair with the Trust for Public Land, and just so delighted to be here, second year in a row in a different position. It took grit to pull it together the first time. It took more grit to pull it together the second time. But what I can say is that the Green Together Collaborative didn't lose sight of the end goal and continued to work together. And I think having the opportunity to apply a second time allowed us to strengthen our application, strengthen the structure of our team, and just become more clear on kind of we wanted this project. And so we thank you so much for your support. Pacoima is a community that desperately needs these dollars. It's crisscrossed by freeways, industry, airports, asphalt manufacturing plants. The team saw a bin of burning electronics on the tour. That happens every day in Pacoima, and so thank you so much for the support. We have really, our presentation is representatives of Pacoima to speak today about what these dollars mean for the community. So Andres from Pacoima Beautiful, I think, is going to introduce the community members, or thank you.
Thank you. We are honored to be here. My name is Andres Ramirez. I'm Clean Energy Director for Pacoima Beautiful. And we brought community members who are really going to speak to the heart of why we did this proposal. So first, I'm going to introduce Rosalino Cabello.
Hello, my name is Rosalina Ceballos, and I'm living for more than 40 years in Pacoima. And I really came in and thank you for your support. And I really appreciate what we're gonna do. It's gonna do a better community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosalina. And now we're also going to invite Emily Betito to come up to share some words.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and let you know that this project means a great deal to us. We're so excited for the collaboration with the companies that we'll be working with, for the improvement we're going to have, for the greening, the solar that's badly needed, just the improvements in the street for our safeties of our family, which is extremely important, and for some of the water swells that we'll have to help take care of the flooding that we get every time we get big rains. One of the things I have to tell you is I am the third of 5 generations who have lived there. So this is very heartfelt for me. So I'm looking forward to this being our legacy for our next future, for my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, and everybody else's that are here. So we're very excited with this, and thank you for giving this to us.
So like we said, I mean, this is a culmination of over 10 years of work that we've been working with the community, envisioning a better Pacoima. And we really feel this is a great opportunity, finally having the resources to make that vision happen. It has been homegrown, community grown, and it's also a strong collaboration. I think we hope that we're able to be an example of the best way for public and community-based organizations to truly collaborate and create positive transformations for communities, to create healthier, safer communities that doesn't displace the communities that are there. So thank you so much. And I want to introduce go ahead.
Hi, I'm Irene Berga. I'm with the City of Los Angeles Mayor's Office. And first I wanted to thank SGC team for your evaluation of LA's Green Together TCC implementation grant proposal. This proposal demonstrates how meaningful community engagement coupled with strategic public and private investments can fight climate change while advancing social equity, public health, economic opportunity, and community resilience. Awarding this grant to the Green Together proposal, as we see here today, will profoundly impact the daily lives of people in Pacoima and Sun Valley, while also creating a model for transformative change. The Green Together program has the full backing of the city. The Mayor Garcetti proudly supports this project, and delivering a successful TCC project in this neighborhood is a priority for the city of LA. Additionally, I just wanted, because of time constraints, also mention the recommendation that we hope for South LA's planning grant, an area where residents are disproportionately burdened by pollution and toxic exposures, and you'll hear more about it later. And these are both wonderful projects, and we look forward to seeing them funded and implemented. So thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Ochita. I'm here on behalf of Assemblywoman Luz Rivas. I'll keep it short because I don't think I could say it better than the community members already, but we're clearly Pacoima proud, and we're very excited and highly support this effort. Thank you so much.
So on behalf of the Green Together Collaborative, we thank you so much for your support and look forward to working with you over the coming years to implement the project. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. A very pithy presentation. Thank you. Mayor Steinberg.
Thank you. Well, I want to begin by congratulating the good people of Pacoima and my friend Senator Hertzberg for leading this effort. How wonderful to be with all of you here today. I traveled far to get here this afternoon. Did I hit the what? Yes, I did. You know, I guess I want to begin by saying that when I authored the legislation to create the Strategic Growth Council, this is exactly the set of projects and the kinds of projects that I actually envisioned. And I'm not sure that I necessarily had put a name to it at the time, but now as mayor of the city, having come back full circle, I actually have put a name on it. And the mission here in the city of Sacramento is to achieve inclusive economic development. It's inclusive economic development. We are, as you know, a city that is rapidly transforming. You know us as the capital city, a government town, the seat of state government. And we're still that and proud of it, but we're so much more. We're attracting a lot of private sector interest in technology and innovation and healthcare. And it's a city where a lot of millennials are choosing to move. And so my job when I got elected to this office, in part, was to elevate what we call the Great Sacramento Renaissance. But I also recognized at the beginning, and I wake up every day remembering this, that it's not enough to build a big cosmopolitan city that has a lot of amenities for some people who can afford it. It's about inclusivity. It's about making sure that when we grow, as we grow, that we are growing in ways that are inclusive of our neighborhoods. And of course, underpinning the Strategic Growth Council and SB 375 and all the other work that I was involved in is that everything must be clean and green. Everything must be consistent with our climate change goals. And so this project, the Twin Rivers Project, is really emblematic of all of the things that went into the formation of the Strategic Growth Council. When you look at the Twin Rivers community and population, it is one of the most economically disadvantaged in the entire Sacramento region. People are expected to earn no more than $19,000 a year. Nearly 60% of residents in the project area do not have a high school diploma. And the pollution burdens in the community are enormous. So under the leadership of our Housing Redevelopment Agency, our Equality District, our Regional Transit, all our community partners here, we have put together a winning proposal. Not as high scoring as Pacoima, I understand. But silver is very good in this context. And we intend to use the bulk of this money, of course, to build a Dos Rios light rail station and to support the other investments around quality, affordable, and workforce housing, employment opportunities, and the social amenities that are going to help transform this part of Sacramento. For we're growing, we're going to become the next great American city, but we're not going to leave anyone behind. And this $23 million will go a long way towards helping us realize the vision that led me to want to go back to local government after my years in the state. And it's wonderful to be with you. I want to turn it over to Joanna Davis from our Housing and Redevelopment Agency to introduce all of our coalition partners and to make a brief presentation. Thank you all very much for all your hard work, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Steinberg, and thank you to the Strategic Growth Council. It's a tremendous honor to be here today with our community that's worked so hard. And we like to say that we won most improved over last year. And that was always our goal. So one of the things that we changed right away was our name, because we wanted to be more inclusive. This wasn't just the River District. It was a project that was supposed to be for the entire city of Sacramento. And when we had the opportunity to have 5 years for the grant award, it allowed us to have the new Dos Rios light rail station that we couldn't have done last year. So the changes that were made really were a benefit for our community. And when we looked at what we could do with the $23 million and the cost of that light rail station, it was very clear. it was going to have to be simple. So I would like to introduce our co-applicants, and there were 4, but we also have nearly 20 partners, and many of them are here today. So first, I would like to introduce Dan Falcone from McCormick, Barron, and Salazar.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity to share in the vision of helping, making sure Sacramento moves forward and no one is left behind. So the mayor's words were taken to heart, and that's what we're focusing on in terms of ensuring those members from the community that are the lowest of incomes do share in the benefit and enjoy the greenhouse gas reduction and all the things that come with it, and look forward to going vertical as I was told earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize. We have Council Member Jeff Harris who would like to say a few words. And thank you so much, Council Member Harris, for your partnership and support.
Thank you, Joanna. You know, Senator, it's really not bad coming in second when the grant amount is the same. You know, I noticed in the Northeast Valley presentation that it took place at David Gonzalez Park, and of course my Chief of Staff, David Gonzalez, is sitting right there. Different guy, not related, so no conflict of interest. You know, the Twin Rivers development is very exciting. Of course, it's in my district, and it's really in the gateway to Sacramento. As people enter Sacramento from the north, from North Sacramento, they go right through the River District. And the River District has been a downtrodden area with an old, dilapidated housing project for a long time. I want to emphasize that this is not a rebuild of a housing project. This is going to be a beautiful mixed income community, because we know that segregating people by income is social injustice. So it's really a tremendous opportunity to right that wrong. But it's also going to be a transit-oriented development. And our goals in the city are to lower vehicle miles traveled, to adapt to climate change. And this project hits on all cylinders. I won't go over the whole presentation as we did, you know, to the Strategic Growth Council previously, but this project is going to be truly transformative to Sacramento, and I believe it meets all of your climate goals, your social equity goals. And it will be very dynamic, both for the River District and the city of Sacramento. We really appreciate you looking at our project and look forward to your vote, but I thank you very, very much for this opportunity.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Henry Lee. I'm the GM CEO for Sacramento Regional Transit. I'm here. I first would like to thank the council staff for developing a wonderful, well thought out and well organized evaluation process. Make sure this process is absolutely fair, equitable, and fair to everybody. Secondly, I would really want to thank our council for your strong leadership to put this program together and for approving this recommendation in the next couple seconds. And thank you very much. And we will make sure the local team will work together to not just meet and will exceed all the goals and objectives we put together in our application. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Torrin Donovan. I'm with the Sacramento Tree Foundation. The city of Sacramento is lucky to have a beautiful tree canopy thanks to the foresight of the people who established this city and the continued investment of our civic leadership. But there are neighborhoods that are lacking in the environmental support, and the River District is definitely one of them. For us, this is a unique opportunity to work really closely with the residents and the stakeholders of the neighborhood, and think carefully about how we go about planting and ensuring that the people in the community are able to lead the charge, not necessarily just see it happen and hope it gets taken care of, but really work closely. We're going to be working closely with our friends of the Regional Conservation Corps to do monitoring and watering, and lots of great opportunities for everyone to come together and celebrate this amazing opportunity for the city of Sacramento. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isaac Dojin. I'm Regional Vice President for Urban Strategies. And first wanted to also thank you all for having the vision and the due diligence to push us to put together a plan that was comprehensive, and not only comprehensive, included the vision that the community wanted for themselves. So we appreciated the opportunity to be the best, most improved, as you put it, because it forced us to hold ourselves accountable to not only talk to the residents at Twin Rivers, but to the surrounding neighborhood. And one of the things we heard just 3 years ago was that one thing they needed to bring all the trees back, and we need a stop, right? The train just kept riding by. So we appreciate the support. You know, it's a tremendous improvement for the community. It's going to be catalytic for the neighborhood. You all know that. You know, one of the things I will share is that we knew going into this that 70% of the folks that lived in that neighborhood either didn't have a car or didn't have a driver's license. So in order for us to be able to connect residents and the neighborhood to employment opportunities, we obviously needed a stop, right? Buses were taking an hour and a half just to get to downtown. It's kind of crazy. So, you know, we appreciate the support. Believe you me, Urban Strategies will be there with the residents the whole while. Our team of case managers are going to support them with workforce development. And it's our commitment to not only support residents with moving from stable, unstable to stable, but we also want them to move into a position of thriving. And so this light rail station is going to be the thing that we need to connect residents to not only jobs, but livable wages. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
And as Isaac said, we could not have done this without our residents, and this truly is a gift for them. So I'd like to introduce two of our residents who will be here speaking today before we have our lineup of residents who also will be doing public comment. So Dan and Howard, if you could join me. We also had residents from Washington Plaza that were a critical component of our TCC planning, and they were unable to make it to this portion of our events today because there was a food bank drop-off for their holiday box of delicacies and treats, and so they were unable to be here. But they were a mighty force in planning, especially for our community garden. So I'd like to introduce Howard, and he's a resident of Twin Rivers.
Thank you very much. First, give honor to God, the sponsors of the grant, the council. These are all things getting ready to happen that I've wanted to happen since I moved to the community. When I moved to the community, I had about 5 cars. But what I'm saying is those that didn't have cars, now they can get around town with the bikes, light rail, busing system. It cuts off that extra hour of time. And the new solar panels is going to work because it lowers people's energy bills. And it's going to create job opportunities for people. And this new housing complex is going to be great for the community, the city, the state, hopefully nationwide. Thank you guys for everything.
Hi, my name is Dan Adderall. I live in Carrying Place Apartments. It was a pleasure meeting SGC and going on the bus tour with you guys and showing you guys our griefs in our area that we need improvement in. And I want to personally thank you for the grant because it's much needed for the light rail station. It saves us a lot of commute time, and for people that don't have cars. Plus, the bus passes for our children to go to YMCA for their education. That's a major plus. I want to thank you guys for that. I want to thank everybody, the council members, the Simple program, our mayor. I want to thank him personally. I want to thank Jeff Harris, and my friend David Holcomb. He's the one that pretty much inspired me to do this because I was kind of like, oh no, I was kind of nervous about being on the bus ride with you guys, but he told me to do it. I'm glad I did now. And I just want to say I think it's really great what you guys are doing, and I'm looking forward to this because our community may be the underdog, like you guys say on paper, but we have character and we have love for our community, and we are helping our community, even the poor, as we speak. I just want to say thank you.
And so that wraps it up for Sacramento Simple, but there's one last thing I'd like to say is that we do have a celebration planned this afternoon at the Twin Rivers Community Room. And if Pacoima has a layover before their flight, you're more than welcome to join us and the SGC Council as well. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you both to Pacoima and Sacramento for those presentations. I think what we should do now is entertain a motion on the staff recommendation and then have public comment.
Mr. Chair, I would move the staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, motion and a second. So let's now go to public comment on this item. And if you recall, we do have 3 sub-items under number 6, and we'll do all the public comment now. I suspect most of them will be on this piece. So let's start with Howard Jones, followed by Bo Reynolds.
Howard spoke.
All right, Howard's out. Bo, followed by Leroy Candier.
Thank you, Chair Alex. My name is Bo Reynolds. I'm the Executive Director of Voice. We are a part of the TCC Fresno project. And when we were here about a year and a half ago, we asked you to really champion workforce development being funded through CCI dollars, which it had never been before. You were successful and we were successful in getting that. And again, I want to thank you. In January of this year, as a condition of award for the City of Fresno, the Workforce Development Plan was to be structured and submitted to this board, I believe, by late May, early June. That timeline was pushed back until this August. And the last that we've heard is the timeline has been pushed back again to make it a first quarter deliverable in 2019. I'm here to really ask you to help us help folks elevate this as a priority. We've seen some negative impact due to the fact that we have not worked out this workforce development plan. First of all, it means that we cannot enter into the relationships necessary with our training providers, both institutions such as Fresno City College, Fresno State University, as well as Washington Unified School District, as well as independent instructors and partners that we need to bring along. Also, we want to make sure that this does not fall on the back burner. With it being one of the first times that CCI has actually sponsored workforce development, we want to be successful not only for the City of Fresno and the Central Valley as a whole, but definitely for the rest of the state so that more investment can be made in workforce development. So my colleague, Leroy Candier, will be following me, and we have some very specific asks of this board to help us be successful as possible. Thank you much.
So, Bo, obviously you and I have had a little bit of email correspondence on this, and I sent you back. I know you're working with staff, which I think is the right route here. Rest assured, this is not in any way in the back burner. It's also, you're for good and for bad, you're sort of the guinea pig, and we have a lot of things to work through. So I understand we need to get this moving. It is a priority, but we do have to work through some things, and I appreciate your continuing to work with staff on that. So thank you.
I thank you for making this a priority.
Sure. All right. Leroy, followed by Pedro Hernandez.
Good afternoon. My name is Leroy Candier, and I'm the board chairman for Voice, a nonprofit in Fresno, California. The Workforce Development Plan is also the first quarter 2019 deliverable. It is critical that all TC-funded workforce projects receive priority placement with the trade unions, contractors, and with successful project bids. We request full participation, inclusive in the body appointed to develop the plan. This will allow us to structure retraining programs from opportunity success-based and short and long-term public projects and its emerging workforce needs. The plan language should provide priority placement, facilitate pathways created with partnering contractors for Fresno's 3 TCC workforce development plans. To us, it seems, and I understand what you're saying, Ken, that the first quarter deliverable actually puts us behind, because there's an opportunity for us to partner with the awardees of the other projects to put people to work. And we would hate to see this opportunity missed because we need for those dollars to be filtered through the community. There's other projects that are going to get started real soon. We've been talking for the past year with the other awardees about the possibility of us having MOUs and getting people work and started on their projects. We can't do that if our project don't start until the first quarter deliverable. We employ you to, and we ask that the TCC people that are here, that we can start working sooner to come up with a plan that we can get involved and get the people involved that's from this community that's been waiting on this project for a long time. Thank you very much for hearing.
Thank you.
All right.
Pedro, followed by Hugo Trujillo.
Okay, I was just waiting for the clock to restart. So my name is Pedro Hernandez. I work with a nonprofit called Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. We work with rural and low-income communities throughout the San Joaquin Valley and Eastern Coachella Valley on several environmental justice issues. And so at least the scope of our involvement with the TCC program is we've been heavily involved with the Fresno implementation grant, also with the Eastern Coachella planning grant as well. And so I'm here to echo my support for the Matheny Tract planning grant on the future or on the upcoming TCC item. But furthermore, I'd like to reiterate staff's recommendation to expand eligibility for the implementation grant. You know, in the last round of planning awards, the Eastern Coachella Valley, which has a very high percentage of rural communities, was awarded for a planning grant, and also in this current round, Matheny Tract, which is a rural community of 300 homes, is recommended as well. I think I echo, you know, many folks when I say the next logical step is to include, you know, rural communities as eligible for the implementation grant, and it makes sense from an equity perspective and from an environmental justice perspective to remove this structural barrier to accessing greenhouse gas reduction funds. Furthermore, just going into a little bit of reasons why rural communities, I think, would benefit just like any other community from TCC implementation grants, is that, you know, in the San Joaquin Valley and Eastern Coachella Valley, folks are already hit very hard by climate change, whether it's reduced groundwater resources, whether it's increasing amount of days that are over 110 degrees, whether it's $200 a month energy bills, whether it's, you know, lack of, you know, green canopies in the communities, and the list can go on and on. But, you know, considering historical disinvestment in communities and also previous local governmental actions that have prevented communities from benefiting from services, whether they're provided by the state or local administrations, we think this is an opportunity to truly transform California, but also further the scope of climate change research and climate change action throughout the state of California. So thank you. I'll cede my time a little early. I hope we can talk again during the TCC planning grant, but I'll cede the rest of my time to Hugo Trujillo, who is one of the best grassroots community leaders in the central San Joaquin Valley and a long-term resident of Matheny Tract. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hugo, followed by Joanna Davis.
And I'll be translating for Hugo.
Buenos días a todos, buenas tardes a todos. Hoy he venido a hablar una vez más por mi comunidad.
Good afternoon. I've come here once again to speak on behalf of my community.
Yo soy una de las personas que hemos luchado por agua en nuestra comunidad. Vengo de una comunidad de Matheny Tracts en Tulare, California.
I'm from the community of Matheny Tract, and I'm one of the many community leaders that has fought for our community to have clean and safe drinking water.
Luchamos por agua, vinimos por agua al Capitolio, nos ayudaron con nuestras propuestas de ley, se hicieron ley, tenemos agua limpia hoy en nuestra comunidad.
We've come up to the Capitol many times to advocate for legislation and for policies to get safe drinking water, and with the help of legislators, we've actually achieved our vision.
Y pues gracias a nuestros senadores y legisladores hemos conseguido eso.
Thank you to our senators and to our legislators that have helped us meet the vision of having, the dream of having clean water in Matheny Tract.
Hoy esta vez nos pasaron la propuesta, la ley, ya es ley, que nos van a poner nuestro drenaje.
It's now law that they're actually going to build sewer system in Matheny Tract.
Y ahora venimos con por estas becas para nuestra comunidad, puesto que voy a ser breve.
So we're here talking about the need for these, for the power of these grants that could do for our community. So I'll be short.
Cuando mis hijas iban a la universidad, a la high school, una de sus compañeras llegaba siempre a la casa y iba hacia el bus, de la casa hacia donde estaba el bus.
So when my daughters were in high school, they'd come home together, one of them with one of their friends who would come to my house and then directly go to the bus.
Y eso era cuando iban a la high school. Ellas, un día llegó esa muchacha llena de lodo, con sus lentes rotos, porque en la comunidad de nosotros hay mucho lodo ahorita. Ahorita yo no puedo entrar en mi casa sin enlodarme.
So one day from coming home from school, this young girl came covered in mud. She had broken her glasses because in our community, there's a lot of mud when it rains. Like right now, I can't even get into my house because of the amount of mud in the community.
Y lo único que pude hacer es pedirle al distrito que el autobús fuera más cerca de las personas, de los estudiantes, para recoger los que no caminaran tanto.
And all I could do was ask the school district to ask them to change the bus route so that the kids wouldn't have to walk as far of a distance to catch the bus.
Pero yo pienso que este tipo de becas nos pueden ayudar.
But this is one example of how these grants can help our community.
Hoy ya mis tres hijas ya no se enlodan, ya son maestras las tres, una quiere ser profesora, pero yo quiero seguir ayudando y seguir pidiendo este tipo de becas para que hoy mi primer nieto, que ya tiene 9 meses, no pase por lo mismo que mis hijas.
Today, my daughters don't have to worry about the mud. They're adults, they're teachers, one wants to be a professor. But today, I'm here advocating for these grants for our communities because I want my first grandson, who's only 9 months, to not have to deal with the same issues that my daughters did.
Necesitamos banquetas, necesitamos alumbrado, necesitamos mucha ayuda.
We need streetlights, we need sidewalks, we need a lot of help.
Gracias a lo del agua, gracias a lo de nuestro drenaje, ya no vamos a contaminar nuestra agua.
As a result of having sewer, we're not going to have the same concern about polluting our groundwater.
Pero queremos seguir luchando por lo demás que necesitamos. Queremos banquetas, árboles y tener alumbrado.
But we want to keep fighting for the other things that our community needs, like sidewalks, lights, and trees.
Y yo pienso que ustedes son los que nos pueden ayudar.
And I think you guys can help us.
Okay. Thank you.
Gracias.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Joanna, followed by Barbara Stanton. Aye.
That was a mistake.
Oh, got it. Barbara, followed by Torrin Donovant.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council. My name is Barbara Stanton, and I have a small group that's called Ridership for the Masses. And I'm also an SHRA resident, not in this particular community. I'm at the Gibson Oaks Senior Apartment Complex in Old North Sacramento. We know the ability to be mobile is a major factor in a person's quality of life. The project, the SHRA project area, is a transportation desert. They have nothing, so their mobility is limited. This grant will allow for a multimodal transit station center to be built that will elevate the quality of life, not only in Sacramento, but for the people that live in the project area. So we support this grant, and we thank you for your vote.
Thank you. Torrin, followed by Tori Chair. Okay, Tori. This is all good news. Thank you for comments. Anybody I've missed? All right. Open now for comments from council members. All right, Brian and then Karen.
Sure. Well, I just want to congratulate the applicants, and one observation, and it sort of ties back to Louise's executive director report. As we're at about 10 years of the Strategic Growth Council, I'm seeing that these communities often have multiple awards over time in the larger communities, and one investment starting to build off the other. I see in Pacoima, it looks like the LA Dash buses are part of this broader project, and that was one of the SGC programs through one of our transit programs. In Sacramento, have been able to fund some other light rail improvements around the city. And so hopefully this latest round of investments will further grow ridership, further increase the benefit of some of those prior investments. So I think it just shows the success of the longer term effort on the Strategic Growth Council, and also the greater value of individual investments as we go. So congratulations again.
So I just wanted to reinforce again the tremendous staff work working with the communities. I love that Sacramento declared themselves as the most improved, but I think there's a lot of lessons to be captured because of our commitment of staff to really dig into these and continually improve our processes. And again, like everything else that we've learned over these past 8 years, the addition of technical assistance is powerful, and it's really heartwarming to see it really start to pay off. And I look forward to many more grants being awarded over time to continue to add to our resilience in all of our communities. So congratulations to everyone applied, everyone who won. I shouldn't say that, that makes it sound like winners and losers. And to the staff for working so hard to really bring this program to where we have it now. It's still a kind of new program, but it's really paying off dividends.
Thank you. I think the people that presented told the story in a way that we don't have to reiterate it, and it was really well done. And frankly, Mr. Mayor, when I was voting on SB 375, if I knew it was creating a body that I was going to sit on for 8 years, I might have paid more attention to that section of the legislation. But I think the added point I wanted to make is that what you said today and what has been done in the work has been really powerful. And it's powerful in how it's brought people and organizations together and how this kind of investment can make a difference. And so we're persuaded, we're about to vote. All of you are persuaded because you see the benefit and you're there in the grassroots. There are 119 other legislators besides Senator Hertzberg who is sitting here. And I really think because one of the things that happened is there was the initial investment, and then more money was decided to be put to this so that we could make these additional investments. I think it's very important to tell the story as you move along, to show what the difference was that was made, and in social media and the formal media and other legislators, to show this, because I think it will prove that the investment returns many times over in a way that there's probably other places in the state after our staff works to work with the next most improved applications that would benefit from the same investment, and where there'd be an exponential outcome from the amount that we put in it. And so I hope that this just doesn't end today and you go into the community and do this, but you turn outward and tell other people about it, because I think it will really incent further investment. And you can just conclude from that, I strongly support the motion.
Thank you, Ken. Just wanted to say first off, that I remember it broke my heart when Pacoima worked so hard the first time through to get an application in, and we just didn't have enough money, and it's very difficult sitting up here because you see so much need in the state
so many communities that are working so hard to better themselves, and there's only so much we can do. So I want to thank Pacoima for sticking with us and continuing to work with us. I mean, they came back again when we had $10 million. We said, well, maybe we can give you the $10 million. No, hold it, wait. And there can be some cynicism about how long it takes government to work sometimes. But I think this is a good story that we've got here, a good process that we can talk about. And so, you know, it's very rewarding to be able to vote in favor of the funding for Pacoima and also for Sacramento as well. I remember when Sacramento came in and there was some discussion of the application and a discussion at the staff level about, let's see, what could they have done to better compete in this system? And so they've stepped up, they've given us the information that we need to go ahead and approve an application for Sacramento as well. And what that says to me is that we're onto something here. We do have a process that we want to see continue. Because as I said, there's so much need in the state. There's so little funding that we have to address that need. So how do you make sure that you're getting your funding to those areas that need it most? And I think we're building a good process here where we have identified the issues or the priorities that we have at the state level, and then we're doing a better job. I think we need to continue to go back and look at how we're working this process to make sure that we're getting the right information, that we're doing the right outreach. But I see this process really developing and moving so that we can direct money to those parts of the state that are most in need and encourage those communities to work with us and reach out to us. I'll just end by seconding Councilmember Ross's comments about the need for technical assistance. To make these programs work, you need to be able to make sure that the money is going to the communities that need the money most, not the communities that necessarily have the most loquacious local government representative, though that always helps. Or you know, can hire the best lobbyist or where. You need to make sure that everybody has a fair chance to get this money and has an opportunity to put in a grant application. So technical assistance is critical in doing that. So we need to continue to work on that. And then, you know, through doing that, reaching out and working with the communities, because, you know, you can drive through too many cities that have done projects in the past where there wasn't community buy-in. The project was done by somebody sitting in some office someplace, and it didn't work because the community didn't buy into it. And the beauty of the projects that we're seeing today is these are community-based projects, and that's what will make them work in the end. And so that's what we need to continue to focus on, a process that gets the money to the areas that need it most, a process that is fair and inclusive, and a process that includes the communities, because that's what will make these projects work in the end. So I think this is a great development, and I'm proud to be you know, going out today with this being the last meeting perhaps that I'll be at, but this is a very, very rewarding vote to be able to make today.
Nicole.
So first, I want to thank staff for your incredible work. And as the most recent appointee to this body, I'm a public member appointed by the Senate. I have been completely transfixed with this program. I think Louisa knows that. Every time we talk, I'm like, what about TCC? I need to know more about TCC. I mean, to me, as a community-based advocate down in San Diego, this is the silver bullet, like actually having a comprehensive, holistic, catalytic program like this is exactly how we're going to prepare our communities to be able to confront the biggest challenge of our time. And so to watch everybody here, thank you so much for coming down and telling your story. I am inspired and I am motivated, and I want you to know I'm staying. So through this transition, I'm fully committed to transformative climate communities, and most importantly, I'm committed to future funding. So I really appreciate the comments about, we really need you all to tell your story to your elected officials. I hope everybody here is on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and you're tagging your elected officials, like not your assembly member, your state, your senator, your mayor. Like, we need to build the awareness and consciousness of this program. I mean, because it truly is game changing. But I'm just being completely forthright and telling you that it's going to be tough, that it's going to require all of us working together to actually ensure that the folks who may not be getting the awards today, that, first of all, don't give up. Obviously, that's a lesson from that you're learning. But secondly, like, we are only going to be able to get you the kind of investment that you need to really transform your communities if we're all telling our representatives and elected officials, especially in the legislature, but obviously to the new governor as well, that this money is really important. But I'm just letting you know that I'm here. I'm available. Please reach out to me. That's my job, is to listen to the community and help you, become the community you want to be to achieve your vision. And I will say, I just want to put on the record, we all received, I know it's last minute, a letter from Greenlining, who's one of the organizations on the pioneering kind of transformative climate solutions and thinking. And I spoke to them and I asked them to submit this letter because, again, we're all on the same page about what we need to do to keep this program going. And I mean, my dream is to, double the amount that we're giving to everybody here in this room and all the other worthy communities. So thank you to Greenlining for participating and engaging, and I know we're going to partner with you in the future. The final comment I'll make is that I'm also committed to figuring out how do we ensure that there's shared power, that this is truly a community-driven program, and by that I mean that the community is actually driving the decision-making. And so that's sort of new, and it's a little bit untested, and it's going to test boundaries and require, again, creative thinking. But if we are going to survive the climate crisis, it truly is going to have to require all of us to think outside the box and differently about how decisions are made and how, who we're putting on the front lines. Because my experience and my 20 years of working in environmental justice communities, like, the communities know the answers the best. They know exactly what they need to protect and preserve their quality of life. So that being said, thank you to everybody on this council. Again, I'm new, so I get the benefit of just voting yes to all the hard work that everybody else has done in this room and on this council, so thank you. But I'm excited to be here, and again, I'm ready to work and ready to partner with everybody here. Thank you.
Okay. So, Matt.
Just one last thing, and I would encourage Riverside and Oakland to continue to work with us and reapply. Today's stories are proof positive that if you keep at it, sometimes slow and steady wins the race. And so I'd encourage them to continue to work with us. And having grown up in that area of Oakland, I understand the need. So I hope they'll come back.
Okay, so Nicole and Matt said what I was going to say, so I will spare you. On that, we have a motion and a second. And Bob is abstaining. Other than Bob, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Congratulations to Falcone and Sacramento. All right, thank you all. So let's move on to 6B, which is the post-award negotiation. We can wait a minute.
So now that pressure is off, I can speak slowly, hopefully.
The pressure remains.
I'll wait for a minute. Should I start?
Okay, go ahead.
TCC guidelines requires staff to work with the awarded applicants to review their projects to make sure that the projects are, that the proposal comply with administrative, statutory, and TCC program requirements. There hasn't been any clarity in the guidelines how this process should work. We had an internal policies developed for that, and we are here to ask the council to review these policies and provide any feedback that they might have, and eventually help us to make these policies a part of the TCC process. During the application, we work, during the post-award negotiation, we work with the applicants and awardees at that point to make sure that they have submitted all documentation that they needed. They have the financial capacity and management capacity to manage the project that they have proposed to us. And there is not any eligible cost that we can award under the TCC guidelines. So the first, the first is that we will review all projects to make sure that there isn't any ineligible project cost that is in the project. And we, if there is any ineligible cost, we want to remove that cost indefinitely from the project. And that ineligible cost, upon staff review, can be reallocated to other eligible costs within the same originally proposed project. And if the lead applicant and the partners request us, we can move that ineligible cost to other projects.
So Harnaz, yes. I'll translate for Secretary Laird here. He suggests that because we had the material beforehand, that we've looked at it, and obviously if anybody wants you to go through in more detail, you should speak up. But we're wondering if it may make sense to go through very quickly and just see if there are questions, because you know, it's very much appreciated how you laid out the proposal.
Sure.
Any concerns? Okay, let's do it that way.
Okay, so should I continue my presentation? Yeah.
Go through, just go through and identify the headline from each, and then we'll see if there are follow-up questions.
Sure. If there's any ineligible cost, we are asking the council to allow staff to move that cost to in the same originally proposed project to the costs that are eligible. And if the lead applicants and the partner agrees, that cost also can be removed to projects within the package that was submitted to the council. If there is any project that is proposed to be removed for any reason, we will seek the written agreement. We'll seek we'll ask our executive director to approve that, and that project that is eliminated should not result in not meeting the minimum requirements of our guidelines, the threshold requirements.
Mr. Chair, maybe the translation wasn't accurate. I would just move this, and then if it's seconded and anybody wants to make changes, that's where we should have the discussion. Okay. So that we can just do this. Okay. So I move the recommendation.
I'd second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. You were very persuasive in your writing of the proposal.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments at this point? Okay.
Thank you.
So, as being a lawyer and having run into something like this in court, the discretion is the better part of valor, so thank you very much. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you have your consultation policies post-award. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Laird, as well. Okay, let's move to 6C, which is the Props 84 grant recommendations for the remaining funds. Hi, Julia.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Alex and the council, members of the council. I wanted to give the presentation about the Transformative Climate Communities planning grant recommendations for this round. So recommended action for council here is to approve $800,000 in fiscal year 2018-2019 Proposition 84 funding to 4 projects for the planning grants related to land use planning and preparing for a future TCC implementation grant. So the recommended awards are to South Los Angeles, Tulare County, and the cities of McFarland and Bakersfield. Also, we are asking that authorization be given in the case that additional Proposition 84 funds become available to award a 5th award to the City of Indio. So background, again, is that we have $800,000 in Proposition 84 funds for up to 4 awards and intended to assist disadvantaged communities in becoming ready for an implementation grant, while also meeting the state planning priorities related to infill development, preservation of environmental and agricultural lands, and resource-efficient new development. For our application process, we had 7 applications received, and a completeness check was conducted, and then interagency panel scored the applications, and we had a deliberative process with the reviewers. Here are the scores listed from top to bottom, and you can see the top 4 are being recommended for funding, and the 5th if funding becomes available. So quickly about the recommended awards, South Los Angeles, the City Planning Department and community-based organizations will create a Climate Commons Collaborative, and that collaborative will look at strategies in the 3 areas of housing and parks, land use and jobs, and transportation, air quality, and community health. Tulare County is looking at climate adaptation planning for the Metheny track. And working also with county agencies and community-based organizations. The City of McFarland was also hoping to put together a plan around creating a healthier McFarland with a number of partners, including the school district, Cesar Chavez Foundation, Chamber of Commerce, and Kern Council of Government. And a lot of the work will focus around 4 workshops to be conducted with members of the community on affordable housing and transportation. And lastly, the City of Bakersfield will conduct further studies and outreach around similar transportation, housing, and workforce options with partners including the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment, Bike Bakersfield, and the Kern Council of Governments. And this work is building on plans for the high-speed rail station area. And if additional funding becomes available, also we would like to make an award to the City of Indio, which will work with the Coachella Valley Association of Governments on funding strategies around neighborhood level environmental, public health, and workforce and economic benefits in downtown Indio and the Jewel community. So again, the additional decision here for the council is whether we can have, our executive director can have the authority to make the 5th award if funding becomes available from Proposition 84, and also just to state that the final 2 applications here are not being recommended for funding, the City of Blythe and the City of Pico Rivera. And so again, the final recommended action for council for the TCC Round 2 planning grants.
Okay, questions for Julia? All right. Please do. You know what, let me call the motion and then you can comment. I would entertain a motion on the staff recommendation.
I'll move the approval of the staff recommendation.
Do I hear a second? All right. Comment from Bob.
Yeah, I just want to compliment staff. You know, some time ago, probably within the last 2 years, we couldn't get anybody from Southern California to apply to anything here. And seeing the group of communities from the South that are in this group of grants, I think really gives me great hope that you all, along with those organizations in Southern California, have sort of broken through the logjam, and we now have got a much more full group of applicants sort of statewide. I think that's a real tribute to the work that you all and prior staff administrations have done in courting communities in Southern California, so that we aren't seen as or showing partiality to the Sacramento region and Northern California. So thank you for that.
Great.
I understand that some folks from South LA want to make public comment on this item. Is that correct? All right. Is that's not this.
Good afternoon, council members and Chair Alex. It was my understanding that we will have a total of 5 minutes to present.
That seems reasonable.
Thank you. We'll try and keep it to that time.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Effie Turnbull Sanders. I am the Executive Director of Slate C, the South Los Angeles Promise Zone, which helps support this project, the South LA Climate Commons Collaborative, along with the LA Equity Alliance and the Brotherhood Crusade and a number of other community-based organizations. We're grateful for your support, and this project really demonstrates the resilience and strength of our community partners to join together in our efforts to revitalize South Los Angeles and really make sure that the community leads. And so we were here last year on the implementation grant. We came back to the drawing board and really focused on making sure that this project was community-led. We thank our lead agency, the LA City Planning Department, for allowing the community to lead this project, along with Mayor Eric Garcetti and a number of other elected officials, one of whom is here today to represent our councilman. Sherilyn, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Board. Councilmember Curtin Price would like to express his gratitude for allowing us to have this opportunity to win, to be awarded this planning grant. We look forward to winning many more grants in the years to come.
And I just would be remiss, I'm just going to run down through our elected officials. This was really, again, they allowed the community to lead, but without their support, we couldn't make it here today. Our Congress members, Karen Bass and Lucille Roybal Allard, our Assembly members, Cam Lager and Joan Sawyer, State Senator Holly Mitchell, and also LA County Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, as well as LA City Council member Marquise Harris Dawson. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the community, which really was the critical part to make this happen.
Thank you all for having us here again. We also applied for that first year implementation grant, and then really appreciated working with staff and with council, meeting, hearing about the program and what were the strengths where we needed to kind of beef up some of the proposal that we had. And so we went back to the table and we developed some stronger partnerships. And here we are now with this planning grant proposal that two of our community members will talk about. And so I'd like to introduce Ignacio, who will share a little bit, and then Elba and Daniela will be translating for her.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ignacio, and I'm a member of Scope and Trust South LA. In my community, there are a lot of garment districts and metal factories that pollute our environment. There aren't a lot of parks, and there's no biking lanes or anything where kids could play, and there's no places to walk in the neighborhood safely. And in my community, we are now seeing more retail space coming in. And most of the houses that we have, homeowners are being displaced, and our homes are being flipped. And there isn't enough reliable transportation where we could get from one end to the other fast enough. And in our community, there's not enough trees and not enough screen space for our, like I said, for our kids to play and enjoy. And I thank you for supporting us and the South LA Climate Commons Collaborative. Thank you, and you have a great afternoon.
Thank you. And thank you, Daniela, for translation services.
Buenas tardes, yo soy Elba Lilian Pleites y he vivido en el sur de Los Ángeles por 18 años. Soy miembro y líder de SCOPE.
Good afternoon. My name is Elva Lilian Plietes. I've lived in South Los Angeles for over 18 years, and I'm a member and leader with SCOPE.
Estoy aquí porque quiero agradecerles por otorgar los fondos de planificación al sur de Los Ángeles. Es muy importante para mí que haya un poder comunitario y un proceso para que miembros de la comunidad tengan poder y oportunidad para tomar decisiones en sus propias comunidades.
I'm here to thank you for awarding the planning grant to South Los Angeles. For me, it's incredibly important to have, for community members to have a voice and power in the process about deciding, about making decisions about what happens in our community.
No hay fuentes de trabajo buenos, las rentas están altas, batallando con impactos de cambio climático.
We don't have enough job opportunities in our communities, and we're struggling with the impacts of climate change that are already being felt in our community, and the rents are too high.
En mi persona, yo he sentido los impactos a mi salud, siento resequedad en mi garganta, alergia y picazón en la piel.
I've personally felt the health impacts through allergies, sore throat, and issues with my skin as a result of the pollution.
Los efectos secundarios del cambio climático dejan un enorme agujero en mi bolsillo y en los bolsillos de la gente que necesita comprar medicamentos para poder combatir los impactos a su salud.
The public health impacts from climate change affect my pocketbook, with all of and the pocketbooks of many of the other people who are also impacted and who must now spend money buying expensive medicines to deal with the negative health impacts that we're experiencing.
Los proyectos como TCC nos ayudan para que podamos crear soluciones para nuestra comunidad.
Programs like TCC help us create solutions to help our community.
Los fondos como TCC nos dan una oportunidad y un asiento en la mesa para que podamos dirigir conversaciones y soluciones para el sur de Los Ángeles.
TCC funds give us a seat at the table and allow us to be a direct part of the conversations about solutions for South LA.
Asegurando que la comunidad tenga parte para tomar decisiones, los fondos de TCC van a asegurar que comencemos y continuemos a trabajar en las necesidades del sur de Los Ángeles y a la vez vamos a crear una estructura para involucrar a la comunidad en la planificación y no al final cuando ya es muy tarde. Gracias.
By assuring that community members are part of the decision-making table, we are going to, at the beginning, we are also going to make sure and to work to continue to keep the community involved to address the needs of South Los Angeles, and to address, we're going to make sure that we're not only involving the community in the planning process and not just at the end when it's too late.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to apologize, I had to introduce myself. I'm Jessica Medina, campaign director at SCOPE in South Los Angeles, who is the anchor of the LA Equity Alliance. And as you've heard before, we also are part of the California Environmental Justice Alliance, of which PCOIMA has been a partner with us, of which Leadership Council has been a partner with us. And so just want to echo the gratitude and say that we're committed to this program. SEJA was one of the co-sponsors for it, and we would definitely be looking forward to working with Nicole and the rest of the council and staff in the new year and getting this funded. Thank you. I'll pass it off now to Carlos, who is another one of our partners.
Hello, Council. First, Carlos Moran, Senior Director of Programs at Tree People. And first, I want to give a shout out and congratulate Pacoima on their successful win. And thank you for that vote for them. Tree People is very excited to be part of this collaborative with South LA. There's over 100 different, 100 and plus disadvantaged communities, neighborhoods, designations of DACs in Los Angeles. So we personally want to thank you for your investment in the planning and the implementation grants that are going into South LA. Big thank you to the TCC staff for the countless hours. Tree People was also a recipient of the implementation grant with WATCH, so we know the amount of time that it takes for you to go through the grant process, but also through the administration process of it. And thank you, Council, for following the staff's recommendations and voting positively. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second on the staff recommendation. Any further comment? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously approved. Thank you. All right, moving right along. Item 7, Climate Change Research Program. Leah.
Thank you, Chair Alex and council members. I'm excited to be here on behalf of the research program team, Liz Grassi, Doug Burt, and myself to present our recommendations for round 2. And I will wait for the slides. So our recommendation today is to award $17.1 million to round 2 to support 4 proposals. I'm going to quickly run through background on the program, evaluation process, and then the 4 proposals themselves. The program was authorized just last year in September. Round 1 funding was awarded in July, and now we're here to award round 2, so we've moved quickly through 2018. The program broadly supports research to reduce carbon emissions focused on California, including research to advance adaptation and resilience, as well as clean energy and technology. These are the 5 research priority areas in our research investment plan. Round 1 supported the first 4, so we focused round 2 solely on priority area 5, which is low greenhouse gas transformative technology development and deployment. This also enabled us to support the Governor's Climate Change Technology and Solutions Initiative. This slide gives a little more information on how we wanted to support priority area 5. We were looking to support Innovation Center research grants. This basically gets it. We wanted to fund a suite of projects within one proposal to advance an overarching challenge. And the overall goal was to target mid-stage R&D to develop transformative, scalable, clean technologies to help the state meet its greenhouse gas reduction goals. And of course, the award period is 3 years, and we were aiming for 3 to 5 grants of $3 to $5 million each. SGC staff, led by Doug Burt, conducted extensive outreach to stakeholders, both state agency partners and external stakeholders. And these 3 areas emerged as needing additional funding attention to advance research priority area 5. We built these into the solicitation to guide the proposals we received. For carbon dioxide removal, we wanted to fund either engineered and/or natural system solutions. For methane reduction, we were looking to reduce methane from agricultural practices or landfills to meet the state's 2030 targets for short-lived climate pollutants. And then for heating, cooling, and thermal storage, we were looking at not just funding technology, but actually integrated strategies to scale up efficient non-fossil fuel heating systems, as well as working with low global warming potential refrigerants, and specifically developing these technologies and deploying them in low-income and disadvantaged communities. This slide summarizes the proposals we received. So we got 24 overall with a fairly even split between those 3 research innovation fields. I'll come back to the evaluation process next, but at the top you can see 24 was cut to 12 between our 2 phases of review. And we were about 6 times oversubscribed at first, and then for programmatic review we were still 3 times oversubscribed. And I wanted to briefly mention eligible applicants here. These were the same as round one: UCs, CSUs, private universities, and national labs in California. We added on nonprofit research institutions for round two as well. Each applicant could only submit 2 proposals. This limited the number we received, but we did receive at least 2 proposals from every category of eligible applicant. So for the review process, as referenced on the last slide, we conducted a 2-phase review process like in round one. First, all 24 proposals went through threshold review by SGC staff to make sure the proposals met the application and budget requirements. Then 22 proposals advanced to this phase, the technical review. This phase is looking at research merit as well as meaningful engagement components of the applications. And it was a really critical phase to identify proposals with both the strongest research ideas as well as engagement built into their proposals in a significant way. So the advisory committee reviewed these 22 proposals and advanced 12 to interagency programmatic review. And the advisory committee members' expertise included technical expertise on the technologies proposed, technology to market expertise, so thinking about commercialization, as well as folks that work on community engagement or participatory-based research in their own work. And a little more specifically, we had members or representatives of universities, nonprofit research groups, startups, accelerators, a national lab outside of California, as well as one person from CEC, ARB, and CDFA. We wanted to really leverage the key technical expertise that our agency partners possess. So those folks, I just want to mention, they were there representing their own individual technical expertise, not their agencies in this round of review. The 12 proposals that advanced went through interagency review. This involved 11 interagency members listed from agencies listed here, reviewing and discussing proposals in an all-day meeting. The decisions were pretty difficult because the advisory committee advanced 12 really innovative and technically interesting proposals. Interagency committee used the criteria summarized here. This includes project management capacity, policy considerations, including looking to make sure it's not duplicative of other state efforts, the balance and distribution of awards geographically, as well as the lead institutions, and of course partnerships, looking for diverse, non-traditional research partners. They also evaluated research impact to ensure that these proposals would contribute meaningfully to the state's goals. The interagency committee put forth a suite of 4 proposals that met these criteria and we think holistically advanced the state's research needs and climate change goals. We wanted to summarize why the other proposals did not advance through both rounds. For the advisory committee, major factors included a premature or unrealistic vision for the research and ability to achieve commercialization, as well as if some had unrealistic budgets, scopes of work, or weak metrics. Importantly, if community engagement was weak in a proposal, this was often a distinguishing factor in not advancing it. Engagement remained an important factor for the interagency committee that distinguished the 4 proposals we are recommending from others. And additionally, interagency looked at the ability to commercialize after the grant period, partnerships like I mentioned, and if there is overlap with state funding. So switching gears, here are 4 proposals. I'll get into each one, but on this slide, I wanted to mention that the request is 5.1% over 17.1 million. So we are recommending funding 94.9% of their requested budgets. And as in round one, we will work with the awardees to adjust the budgets, ensuring that the goals of each proposal are still met and that the substantive work won't be compromised. The first project I'll summarize is led by the University of California Office of the President on a Working Lands Innovation Center. You'll see the first 3 proposals I'll talk about complement each other by focusing on various emissions reductions needs in land management, both natural and working lands, and looking at carbon sequestration as well as methane emissions. This proposal by UCOP aims to scale up previously localized experiments to evaluate the potential and co-benefits of soil carbon sequestration. They're looking to do this comprehensively at 29 sites across the state, and they will also conduct extensive modeling to project impacts beyond those 29 sites. The soil technologies being researched are rock amendments, compost, and biochar. And this is an innovative proposal in that, as far as we know, it's the first time that these soil technologies will be deployed at this scale in the state. And for the state, we can't yet quantify the magnitude and potential of soil carbon sequestration. This proposal is a big step in helping us answer that question comprehensively to inform future land management policies. And I wanted to highlight the partnerships and support for this proposal were very diverse, including tribal and industry support, as well as many research partners listed here. The next project is also looking at land management, but this one is on wildlands. The proposal is led by UC Irvine. They want to increase understanding of carbon cycles, uptake, and negative feedback under climate change in forests and other wildlands. The proposal was enthusiastically supported by the Interagency Committee for its potential to improve forest management to manage for co-benefits and resilience. So in other words, the research will inform how to manage forests to decrease wildfire risk while optimally sequestering carbon long-term, increasing forest economic and rural community resilience to climate change. The research activities specifically include data and modeling to develop tools, which will be tested through adaptive management efforts with many stakeholders. The proposal has a realistic vision for the 3-year grant period to focus on 2 priority areas and then to scale up after the grant period. Other land managers in the state wrote enthusiastic support letters, and they also have local county support and nonprofit support. We want to highlight that the project will advance the state's goals for forest management by filling a gap in the state's knowledge and ability to implement its management goals. The Interagency Committee also highlighted that this proposal will be able to be leveraged and connected to future state funding on wildfire research without being duplicative. The third project is also looking at the agricultural sector, but with a slightly different focus. UC Merced will lead an effort to conduct a full system development and field demonstration of a mobile platform to produce biochar. This is a technological solution to manage waste from agriculture, and especially from the dairy industry. Furthermore, the mobile platform aims to be more economical and practical for farmers. The team will also conduct life cycle analyses on various mixtures of biochar and manure to optimize methane emissions reductions from composting. The partners on this project include a key supporter for community outreach, as well as industry support and partnerships with local universities and colleges in the Central Valley. So along with those reasons, the Interagency Committee recommended funding this proposal because no other state funding currently exists for this type of research. And another thing to mention is that the UCOP proposal could complement this one in that biochar produced here could have an increased market in the state if we are able to better quantify soil carbon sequestration and other co-benefits for biochar. The last proposal switches gears a little into heating, cooling, and thermal storage. This proposal, led by the Electric Power Research Institute, will demonstrate innovative heating and cooling technologies in Modesto in partnership with 2 startups. The first startup, TRO, is developing the easy install mini split heat pump AC system. They will develop this and test it in low income and disadvantaged communities. To complement this work, they will also develop a matrix on payment and financing solutions for low income households. They're partnering with Watts On, which is a startup that specializes in engagement in this area, to conduct user engagement and evaluate behavior and needs to facilitate eventual commercialization of the technology. So those 2 startup partnerships, along with the technologies themselves, made this proposal stand out. It's also critical that they're developing the technology for and are going to deploy in low-income and disadvantaged communities. So to bring us back to the summary of the proposals, these will advance our 5th research priority area of low greenhouse gas transformative technology development and deployment. We're recommending, as you can see, 1 proposal in each research innovation field with 2 in carbon dioxide removal. And overall, we just wanted to stress that all 4 are technically innovative with strong partnerships and engagement built into the research, meeting SGC's goals and filling important research gaps for the state. To wrap up, we wanted to summarize what we have planned for next year. We're hoping to hold a research symposium with our grantees to facilitate the sharing of research progress and ideas and to support policy linkages with state partners and engagement with other stakeholders. We will continue to manage the round 1 and round 2 grants. We're completing right now contracting for round 1 grantees and are moving into kickoff grant meetings this week. And overall, we want to continue to support the state's research efforts and align SGC funding and goals with the state's broader research portfolio. So to conclude, I'll bring back our recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions for Leah? Yeah, Karen.
I do. Well, obviously, I'm thrilled to see 3 of these dealing with working lands and ecosystems, so I just thought I should just go ahead and state my prejudice right up front. But I did have a couple of questions because the materials I have before me, and I know that our staff was part of this, but I didn't have a chance to ask questions, especially on the first one, using the 3 different elements for potential for sequestration. A lot of work has been done on biochar as an example. And one of the major barriers for broader scale adoption of that is cost. And so I'm wondering on things like this, where we're looking at how quickly we could accelerate the adoption of a practice, is there an economic analysis included in this? That's question number 1. And question number 2, while there is one person here from Cooperative Extension, that's not a very well spelled out collaboration there. And this is a type of project we're not listing anybody like UCI did, someone on the land as a farmer industry person where these projects are going to be, seems like a missing element here. Cooperative Extension is clearly the way to accelerate the adoption of research on a campus to get it into the end users for practical application. I'm just wondering if that's spelled out better. It's the highest one, so that's why I'm asking these questions about this particular grant.
They are partnering with Cooperative Extension. I just left it off the slide. I think that's an oversight on our end. Your other questions on economic analysis, that is part of the scope of work for all of these proposals, I believe, especially the two working land ones. And on the Merced biochar project, the whole platform, the reason it was selected for funding is because it should be more economical for farmers.
Thanks.
Yeah, comment and a question. The comment is that when this first came up before the council, I was pretty skeptical we were going to be able to get this focused, narrowed down, and come up with anything that made clear sense. And I think you all have done a terrific job of organizing it, presenting it, and really the way you put it into the different groups. I mean, it really stands up well. So thank you for that. The question is, you know, if any of these projects become financially viable, does the state have an opportunity to share in the economic, in the profits of a program that, you know, the intellectual property, who owns the intellectual property, and since we're potentially a sizable funder, is there any return for the state in this?
I think they get to keep IP, but.
So, yeah, I believe, and I can turn it to our attorney, I think I'll mention one thing, which is all data, anything produced, publications, data, et cetera, is open access. So that is a requirement of any of our grants, that anything be made available. In terms of a patent, I believe the researcher would own the intellectual property. Is that?
That's right. The state does take a license, however, for government purposes, and that's standard with a lot of the state licensing or state funded research work. So the state retains an irrevocable license to use the research outcomes for state purposes.
And then I think within the UC system in particular, they have a very well developed patent agreement with all of their researchers. And I do want to say, and I really appreciate your question about this, because especially in the agricultural sector, the cost reward, it's a much lower return. And so this really underscores the importance of public funded research to be able to come up with something that has practical applications. So I think this can really help advance some of that work, but I really appreciate that question.
Other questions, comments? All right. At this point, I would entertain a motion on the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Motion and a second. I have one comment before we take a vote, and which is all of these proposals, the ones that won and the ones that did not, are really interesting. And I do want to underscore that there was a very extensive process in which we had a lot of advice from scientists and others participating in it. And I think first of all, they volunteered their time. Some of them were state employees, some of them were not. And it's very much appreciated. And I think the program that is put together, as Bob said, is a really nice mix. So thank you for that. Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, do the results come back, or what at the conclusion of the research? I'm really interested in the EPRI. So the intent there is to deploy into disadvantaged communities, and I happen to be a city manager of a disadvantaged community, and so I'm interested in the results in particular of that one. How is that? What's the intent there? How does that come back?
I'll answer that. So yeah, I mean, they'll do regular report backs, but I think, and we'll get results, but I think we're trying to come up also with ways to link the research with potential users or partners, whether it's a state agency, local governments. And so we sort of have an idea around convening a research gathering, but then also doing more informal connections to just make sure that that information is getting out, recognizing that not everybody's going to read a journal article or a report. And so, I think we're trying to think about different ways to make those connections, because our goal is really to make sure that it's usable. And that's also why we always wanted everything, it's now state law that everything be open access, but we were requiring that, from the beginning as well. So just that everybody can have access to the information.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And on to item 8, Sustainable Agricultural Land Conservation Program, Virginia.
Hello, good afternoon, Chair Alex and council members. I'm Virginia Jameson. I'm the Climate and Conservation Program Manager at the Division of Land Resource Protections at the Department of Conservation. I'm here to tell you about our next round of guidelines for this program.
Can you pick up the mic a little closer? There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the action before you today is we're recommending that you approve the 2018-19 SALC program draft final guidelines. With your approval, staff will proceed with the solicitation of projects eligible under these guidelines via competitive process, and we will award an amount equal to 10% of the auction proceeds available from the 20% continuously appropriated to SGC from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. The actual funding level won't be known until after the 4th auction for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. So just a little recap of your actions last month. So far, the program has awarded $123.9 million. We have already permanently protected 25,000 acres, and another 66,000 are in the process of getting a conservation easement. So as you know, the purpose of the SALC program is to avoid increases in greenhouse gases associated with the conversion of California's crop and rangelands to urban and rural residential development. And the program's part of and complements the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program. And it has 2 components, conservation easements and planning grants, which have previously been known as strategies and outcomes grants, and we propose changing that in this revision. So following feedback on round 4 of the program, staff prepared updates to the program guidelines and released them for public review in October 2018. We held 2 public workshops, one in Sacramento and one via the web. Stakeholders submitted comments in person, by email, telephone, and regular mail. And in total, we heard from 31 organizations, and we've included these in our staff materials for you today. And then we updated the draft to incorporate their feedback and prepared the draft final guidelines that we're discussing with you today. So now I'll go forward with an overview of our proposed changes to this year's guidelines. So kind of an overview, we are proposing revising the planning component of the program, reorganizing the risk options, clarifying the project selection criteria for easement projects, and fourth, making revisions to administrative requirements. So starting with the planning grant changes. The planning grant component, formerly known as Strategies and Outcomes, has seen declining participation since the project types became very prescriptive in round 3 of the program. No applications were received in round 4 for planning grants at all, which was very disappointing. However, we continue to see dividends from the planning projects that were funded in the first 3 rounds. If you recall, rounds 1 and 2, there were very few parameters put on what those projects could be. So for example, Santa Clara County, in partnership with the Open Space Authority, developed an ag plan that, among other things, identified conservation areas. And in round 4, 3 projects in the conservation area that they identified were applied for and received easement funding. So the draft final guidelines propose 4 categories of changes to the planning grants. First, they propose renaming this component of the program. Second, they propose expanding eligible planning grant activities. And third, they propose expanding eligible applicant pool. And finally, they propose modifying the quantification methodology. Okay, so firstly, we've proposed renaming the Strategies and Outcomes grants Sustainable Agricultural Conservation Planning Grants. This is in response to stakeholder comments that the planning component of SALC suffers from a branding issue after so many changes and difficulties for folks in applying. And this component of the program will be renamed to this to reflect an expanded breadth of available project types. So, for example, in rounds 2, 3, and 4, applicants were required to select from 5 eligible project types, which involved really specified tasks. This included an ag land mitigation program, urban limit line, green belts, agricultural easement purchasing programs, or increased zoning minimums for strategic ag areas. In the new guidelines, applicants would be able to propose innovative projects that establish comprehensive goals, policies, and objectives that would support viability and protection of agricultural lands, and as well as identify and designate priority lands for conservation, or designate a set of feasible implementation measures designed to promote existing ag land conservation goals, policies, and objectives. So we made these changes because we received significant feedback from stakeholders who asked for more flexibility, including the ability to conduct community engagement processes. So a little bit more on this. We are proposing to expand the eligible applicants for this portion of the program. Previously, the Strategies and Outcomes grants were limited to cities and counties. But we now propose expanding the grants to include local agency formation commissions and special districts, though we'll continue to strongly encourage applicants to submit proposals that demonstrate commitment to meaningful, actionable collaboration with stakeholders. And once again, this expanded eligibility was requested multiple times by stakeholders. So as for quantification, in earlier rounds, Strategies and Outcomes grants had to result in a quantifiable outcome, hence the name Strategies and Outcomes. But recent changes in the California Resources Board's climate investments funding guidelines request that emissions be quantified at a programmatic rather than project level. And so stakeholder feedback indicates that cities and counties were reluctant to participate in this requirement because you had to close an easement and you couldn't be paid until the easement was closed, resulting in the quote-unquote outcome. And so it's hoped that by taking away the quantification requirement for this portion of the program, we'll see more participation in the planning grants. So I should say that while the quantifiable outcome requirement is removed for planning grants, we will still have it for the easement portion of the programs. and we'll still be quantifying those. So we also have made some changes to the risk options. Each easement acquisition project is required to demonstrate that the agricultural lands within the project's geographic area are at risk of conversion. There are 10 risk options that quantify that risk of conversion, and you can satisfy a risk option by demonstrating that the risk to the land is going to result in a different land use density, essentially, from what it currently is. And then we use the anticipated future density to quantify the number of development rights that would be extinguished by completing the project, which are then used to calculate the anticipated GHG reductions. So we made several revisions to the risk options. Regarding easement projects in consultation with CARB, the risk options have been reorganized to better reflect the conversion threat represented by each option, and used to determine the number of development rights to be extinguished by a project. So once again, we for the planning grants portion of the program, we won't be quantifying the outcomes. Although I should say that applicants will still have to describe the risk of conversion. Okay. So on project selection criteria, this last round, staff used quantitative metrics to evaluate easement projects, which aided in our review of projects in this cycle and helped us rank them. Stakeholders recommended a series of refinements to clarify these metrics, and the following changes are reflected in the draft final guidelines. So the guidelines now group criteria by topic. The co-benefits have been revised to include public health benefits associated with the potential for catastrophic wildfire, and criteria were added to encourage the submission of projects located within and benefiting priority populations, and a criterion was added to provide points to projects linked to funding, to plans funded through SALC planning grants.
Mr. Chair? Yeah. I think we're having the same thing happen where you're pretty much going through the staff report that we all have in front of us and we've all read. And it seems to me that, once again, we should ask the body if we have any questions or changes or anything we want to update, or if you have anything that's not in the staff report that you'd really like to have us know.
One thing I'd really like to point out is that we're also going to be offering technical assistance for the planning grants portion of the program. We also can thank Monica Palmyra for helping with that. And we're just really hoping to have a third-party technical assistant walk folks through this process so that we can ensure we get some of these grants.
We have members of the public that want to speak.
We do have one, but let me just see, since you've appropriately streamlined this, if anybody has any questions for Virginia. Okay, so thank you. We do have one public comment on this item for the very appropriately named Mark Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council and staff. Here, let me put my glasses so I can read my notes. Mark Landgraf, External Affairs Manager with the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority. I want to start by thanking the Strategic Growth Council for its great foresight and leadership in creation of the Sustainable Ag Lands Conservation Program back in 2014. As evidenced by the great demand in funding, there's clearly a critical need around the state for implementation of this important program to fight climate change and help meet the state's aggressive climate goals. We certainly are very happy that the program has grown over the past 4 years and hope it will continue to grow in the new administration. As mentioned by staff just now, the Open Space Authority, in partnership with the County of Santa Clara, has been the proud recipient of 2 planning grants that have resulted in development and already early implementation of the Santa Clara Valley Ag Plan, right there. It even serves as a foundation for my notes here, not just foundational for our community. and as well as just last month, 3 conservation easement awards. So last month also, we were very glad to receive the GILA, or I think there's debate over whether it's GILA, award. Thanks very much to...
There's no debate.
Thanks very much to Cali, PA, the governor's office, and all those involved with that program for recognizing the merits and practical applicability of our ag plan. And speaking of that applicability, I wanted to let everyone know here that the Santa Clara County LAFCO invoked the ag plan on 2 separate occasions where they were being asked to approve annexation of prime farmland. And they invoked the ag plan as referencing its promise for city, county, and special district collaboration for more thoughtful planned growth. And so it denied at both times those requests for annexation on farmland. So it's real and it's working. The Open Space Authority appreciates greatly the openness of staff from the Department of Conservation, the Department of Food and Agriculture, the Natural Resources Association, and the Air Resources Board to hearing our suggestions as they gathered inputs for the current proposed revision of guidelines. We definitely felt welcomed and heard. And we also want to express our appreciation for the California Climate Action Network for convening many of the stakeholders to coordinate inputs. Jeannie Merrill, their executive director, who is under the weather today, wasn't able to make it here, but she's been great in putting together many of those inputs. The Open Space Authority is in full support of the staff recommendations for revision of the program guidelines and would look forward to continuing to work with staff at DOC and the other departments when the next round of revisions is considered. I just want to close by saying how incredibly grateful we are to the council members and staff for its climate and farm and ranch land protection leadership. In fact, we're so grateful, we'd be happy to give back. Not the money, but if we can ever be of assistance to the council by promoting the value of local governments working together to develop collaborative approaches and actually implementing an ag plan like this, please don't hesitate to give us a ring.
I think you'll get some takers on that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, do I hear a motion on
I
this?
move the recommendation.
Second?
Second.
We have a comment.
I do have a comment.
I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, well, no, we made some time.
Go ahead.
I think that what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a summary comment about this, and I've done it before, but the point was made by the speaker, and the staff should not confuse wanting to move ahead with not appreciating the work that was done and what has brought us to this point, because it was really hard. This was not really initially liked by anybody in the first round of cap and trade. We got $5 million in. It got the toe in the door. In the end, it was significant for ag easements. We did have some for planning. We had real problems with the vetting and ARB right up to almost making the grants once when we didn't make some of them. But the renewal of cap and trade and the fact that this has grown from 5 million to 40 million and more. In Louisa's slide at the beginning, you saw her use the figure 100,000 acres that were protected. And it has been a real success, both in support, in driving people to do things, such as the speaker said, and improving the efficacy of what it is in our overall climate program, as well as protecting it. But we are at this crossroads that is reflected by us having to do this, which is that because we were desperate to move ahead, because we had to prove it, because there was always the chance that the money could be swiped at any point, we took whoever was ready to go and whoever had their applications together. Now we have the chance, after having been through rounds, doing the improvements that will be made when we adopt this motion, to actually focus on priorities. What do we think is important? What do we think will best protect, rather than what is just ready? And as I said before and pointed out, Kaylee Bright has now moved from the resources staff to head the piece in conservation that will include this. And I know that he's looking to work with the staff and the stakeholders to prioritize exactly what it is in the next step, that we can look at what's most at risk, where can people do planning that they will commit to follow through. Because the one place that really stepped up on the planning and with the grant and the work was Santa Clara, and then we see the results in what happened here. So I think that I step away from that program and all the work it went to make sure it happened, and this council knowing that it's in good shape, and now we have in place with this motion and the staff the ability to prioritize, the ability to make it most effective in going forward. So I really appreciate all the updates that are included in this that sort of hone that, and look forward to seeing the number that Louise will present in future staff reports that will only be bigger.
Okay, other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we have a couple of general public comments. Richard Sandowski and Marla Jo Sandowski.
Hi, Richard Sadowski. I'm from Homefront, Environmental Justice, Morro Bay. We're just a grassroots organization. I also sit on the Morro Bay Planning Commission. And I just, first of all, want to say what an encouragement these projects like Pacoima and what's going on in just through this council. And I pray that this next administration exponentially increase your funding to continue this issue, like Ms. Nicole said, the climate crisis that we're facing. As a planning commissioner, a lot of times we run into local political, addressing local political will. And one area that I find that I would like to see changed is in a general plan LCP update, which we're doing now, that we make the air element, air quality element, a mandatory element, and maybe even lace it in with ocean acidification, because especially for coastal communities, because a lot of times the coastal community doesn't have air quality as smog issues because we have a breeze, but I feel that we need to start getting baseline data. And I would like to see that happen. In another area where we're talking about climate or carbon dioxide removal and sequestration, the areas of like a wastewater treatment plant and sewer collection sewer collections, we have these areas of sewer gas that usually vent into disadvantaged areas of the community. So we're in Morro Bay, we're a marginally disadvantaged community. We have a lot of disparity between income. We're a safe harbor, we're a national estuary, we have a state marine reserve. Eelgrass is a big part of our area there. And I would like to, I would just kind of think about that as far as the air quality thing. And I just want to thank you guys so much. Very encouraging coming to this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mary Jo.
Mr. Chair, while she's moving to the mic, let me tell you that Mr. Sadowski, I think, has spoken at the public comment period at virtually every Ocean Protection Council meeting in 8 years. And in one particularly slow meeting, I asked him the nature of the name Sadowski, and he said that the Bolsheviks had chased them out of a particular country at a point in time. And I said that I had not heard the word Bolshevik mentioned at a public meeting since I was on the Santa Cruz City Council.
Apparently the OPC has got some, entertaining moments here. So Mary Jo, I think you get the final public comment of 2018 here.
Okay, thank you. It's Marla Jo
Sadowski. Not Marla does mean Mary in Arabic, but it's actually Marla. I'm Marla Jo Sadowski, and we've been ocean people. We're coastal. I come from Morro Bay, California, and recently discovered the Strategic Growth Council. I've only been here twice, and I really appreciate the work that you're all doing, and it gives me hope for the amount of work that we need to do, and the time that we have to do it, and the thoughtfulness of your whole staff and this board, what I'm seeing here today. I'm very appreciative of the work. And I'm interested in environmental justice. Homefront is an environmental justice group. I feel that most people don't really know what that is. And I'm excited to get in with the people who have their sleeves rolled up and ready to help guide and implement those policies. And so, thank you. And your meeting was great. Love this meeting. Great.
Thank you. And I'm going to just take 30 seconds for chair prerogative just to say that I've had the privilege of being the chair here for 8 years, and I want to particularly thank the governor for the opportunity, but also to say how incredibly collaborative this council has been, and it has been really a pleasure to work with you all. And finally, to say, you know, we've lauded the staff, so I won't continue with that other than to say yet again that they're great. But one of the things that the governor made a very clear point of 8 years ago was that he wanted no swag to be on the state payroll. And just to underscore how great the staff is, the staff provided these to the council. So thank you very much. Anybody else comment before we wrap up here?
You did a good job as chair, Ken.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ken, for your leadership. And, you know, it is one of those things, I hope we have the chance to sort of sit back and reflect on what we've done over the last 8 years. You're so busy looking at the next thing you need to do, you don't get a chance to sort of realize what you've accomplished. But if you look at these programs and how we worked on these programs over the last 8 years and developed them over time, I think it is something that all the members of the council can be proud of, and the staff as well. So I just want to thank the staff, thank the other members of the council. It's been a real pleasure working with all of you.
Let me just add, as the senior member here. That's right, and looking forward to transitioning to the next governor. I don't want to single anybody out, but I will. I think that John, you and Karen, Ken, and Matt have been on this council almost from the beginning of Governor Brown's term. Probably have been, and your dedication and coming to every meeting is really impressive. I mean, you know, this council did not get the same kind of dedication and participation from the last agency secretaries, and I think what you put in, you know, you get out what you put in, and I'm really proud of what we've all accomplished together. Your comment about cooperation, I think, I suspect it permeates through your agencies, and Mayor Steinberg's not here, but I think that was one of the big intentions of this council was to break barriers within agencies and get people to cooperate and to do things across government, and staff will lead that, and the culture is, I suspect, has changed a great deal under all of your leadership and the leadership of everybody else on this council. So as a public member and representing all the citizens of the state, thank you.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned for 2018. Thank you very much.